This little video will show you how to do one of your first homework problems that involves data. It's either homework problem 3.9 or 4.4, but they use the same data set, and it involves induction times in months, seizure cases, and it's for 13 observations. And they're stored in a data set called seizures, and it's an Excel file associated with your textbook. So the first thing I'm going to do to work the homework problems is to import the data from Excel. I'm going to go up here to File, Import in a spreadsheet, Browse, and yours is going to look different than mine is. So navigate to wherever you have stored your data set, wherever you have stored the seizure data set. Mine is in homework 4.4, and so it's this one right here. And when it comes up, one of the things it asks me is, does the first row look like a variable name? And it does. So if this first row looks like a variable name, I'm going to click this box, okay, and that makes the variable name. And I see that this looks like the data that it's supposed to look like. I didn't see much happen, but if you looked closely, it did create an import file, an import command here. It created an import command here. It brought up something here. And I know that if I type into the command line list, if there's any data, then it's going to list it. And what I see is that it lists the data that I just pulled up. And it is this month's data that I was looking for. It has 13 observations, one variable. I'm in good shape. The homework problem asked me to calculate the mean and median of the data set. And I know from the lectures and I know from my Stata handout, frequently used commands, that the Stata command is summarize, type in the variable name, being very careful about case, hit enter, and it gave me the mean. I'm feeling good. So it gave me the average of the variable months. The command that will give me a few more descriptive statistics, again, I don't have these memorized, but they are on my frequently used commands, and they're in the lecture notes. They are lots of different places, and they're in the drop-down menus. But the command that that will give me that is, and again, I'm being very careful about the case, both in the command itself and in the case of the variable name. See, it's small letters here in months, and I see over here that the months, the variable name is all small letters, no capitals. So this is the command that will give me more detail, more descriptive statistics. In particular, the question asked me to compute the median. So if I put in this detail option, that will give me more detail. Hit return, and I get lots and lots of things. One of the things that I get is still the mean, and I get the median, which is the 50th percentile. I see it right here, the 50th percentile. The median is the middle value, or 24. So I'm basically done with that homework problem. Now I'm going to do a few more things, but I've basically done the first homework problem. I'm going to do two more things just to show you. One is a little data management, and another is going to be a little bit of graphing. So talking about data management, you may be interested in labeling some variables if you are going to use this data anymore. I'm going to go up here to the data editor. I can either edit or browse. I want to edit. This brings up what looks like a spreadsheet because it's a spreadsheet. I don't like the variable name months. I want this to look like induction times because that's what it is. So I'm going to call this variable induction. I want the label for this variable to be induction time in months. And I'm just typing it in because I know that I have to have the units, because my teacher gets really angry about things like that and very obsessive compulsive. I see this as observation level. It's not summary data. It's one ID per, it's one observation per person. I also see this as a data set that I may have changed. I am going to want to save it as a Stata data set because I have done something to it. I may want to use it later. So I want to save it so that I don't have to do, I've done some work here and I may want to use it again sometime. So I'm going to save it back to my hard drive in case I ever, as a Stata data set, in case I ever need it again. Again, your path names your directory structure will most assuredly look different than mine. You see that it is a file type .dta. That's what Stata calls its data. And I'll click Save. In the first week, I'm not going to ask you to do graphing and homework, but I do want to show you this in case you're interested. In public health, you will need to graph data at some point, and next week you will need to graph data. So if I needed to graph this data, if I want to graph this data, we know what the commands are in Stata. For example, if I wanted to do a box plot of these data, I know from the Stata handout and from the lectures what the Stata code is. Graph, box, and then type the variable name, being careful here with the case. I look up here to see what's capital and what's not for my variable name. This is not the most beautiful box plot I've ever seen, but it does show me that this is a right-skewed graph, that the times are right-skewed with an outlier. At 96 is an outlier. To edit it, easy enough. I can go to the graph editor, which is this little box, and it will let me edit all kinds of things, including the titles, including the scale, etc. And the drop-down menus as well will let me, the graphics, box plot, etc. will let me edit all of these titles to do a beautiful box plot. If I wanted to do a histogram, I could type it into the command line here, or I can go up to, let's say, graphics, histogram. The variable I want to do the histogram in, well, I only have one variable. These data are continuous. The number of bins, I can always come back and change this, but maybe we start with 6 bins, and maybe I want frequency on the y-axis. I'll come back and put in the titles, and I will label the x-axis etc. It will give me a good start on a histogram. And again, I see this is right skewed. Recall that you can always come back over here to the left-hand side, the review window or the log. And when you click on that, it will bring back up what you just did, and you can edit and resubmit.